Thank you. Well, thank you very much. And a very big hello, Arizona. We love you, Arizona. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. That's you. You are hardworking and you are patriots. Early voting by mail. We're finally there. Take back our country. Early voting by mail and in person opened in Arizona earlier this week. So if you have a ballot, return it immediately. And if not, go vote. Get your you-know-what up and vote. The minute the polls open tomorrow, you'll be there. And get everyone you know, because we want to take back our country. We're going to take back our country. And with your help, 23 days from now, can you believe it? We're going to win Arizona, and we are going to defeat Kamala. Shouldn't be running. She shouldn't even be running. She didn't get any votes. Say what you want about Biden. I'm not a fan of Biden. I'm no fan. Nobody's a fan of Biden. But you know what? He got 14 million votes. She got none. I'm the only one that has to beat two people, not one. You know, everyone else. Historically, in history, you've got to beat one, I got to beat two. They never make it easy for us, but she's going to be easy. I have a feeling that he would have been tougher than her. But we're going to usher in a new golden age of American success for the citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. What Kamala and her radical left cronies have done to the state of Arizona is a crime that can never be forgiven. What they've done to us and what they've done to us on the border can never be forgiven. For 4 straight years, she's imported an army of illegal alien gang members and migrant criminals from the dungeons all over the world. Not South America, all over the world they come. From prisons and jails, insane asylums, mental institutions, from Venezuela, from the Congo, all over. And she's resettled them into your communities to prey upon innocent American people. If Kamala gets 4 more years, the entire country will be turned into a migrant camp, and that's what's happening. Millions and millions of people. When I win on November 5th, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins. One of the deadliest and most vicious migrant gangs that Kamala has imported into our country is the savage Venezuelan prison gang known as Tren de Aragua. It's a vicious gang. Well, we have them all. We have them all. They're all represented now. MS-13, vicious. They're all vicious. We'll have a contest. Who's the most vicious? We'll figure it out. Because they're all in our country now. People we never had in our country like this. Remember when she went around saying, no, the migrants that come in are very nice people. No, they're not nice people. No, we're not getting the nice ones. We're getting people that levels of crime and violence and viciousness like you've never seen before. They make our criminals look like nice people. They look like nice people. These people know it better than anybody. Border Patrol. Border Patrol. They're the greatest people. The best people. And they want to do their job. They don't want to be held back. They want to do their job. They'll do it. They'll end it immediately. All we have to say is, do it, right? Do it. One call. Do it. You know, I listened to her saying all the time, we couldn't get a bill passed. I never had a bill. You know what I did? I called them up. I said, close the border. That's it. There was no bill. Did I have a bill? I never had a bill. Right? I said, close the border, and the border was closed. And then we had the best numbers in the history of our country at the border. And that included, by the way, drugs, and it included traffickers, women, mostly they deal in women. Let me see the chart, my all-time favorite chart, by the way. See if you can drop it down. I didn't tell him I was going to. See, that location would not have worked. You understand that? I would have turned too far. When it was over there, it was perfect. But you see the arrow on the bottom? That's the day I left office. That was the lowest number we ever had in the recorded history of our country. So, yeah, you'll sit down. Sit down. See, I got him to sit down, right? I could see this handsome guy. He's going crazy. Well, they're front row Joes, you know. We got to be careful with those front row Joes. But no, that's the best number that we've had. And look what happened afterwards. It was like an explosion, like a rocket, like Elon's rocket. Did you see the way that sucker landed today? What was it? I looked at it and I said, oh, that's too bad. Oh, that's too bad. It's coming down so fast. I said, oh, because he's our friend. We want our friends to be successful, and he's really been our friend, right? So Elon's rocket's coming down. And I saw where the engines came down. That was the first. A couple of years ago, I saw engines come down. I said, that was great. I said, why do you do that? He said, engines are very expensive. We can save them with certain formulas. He's given me these formulas. I'm saying, forget it. You don't have to be that specific. And now the whole thing landed. I never saw anything like it. And it's been through a lot. You know, you look at it. It was a beautiful, white, shiny thing. Now it's burned to a crisp, but they landed. It needs only a new paint job. That's a lot cheaper than building a new one, right? But that was coming down. I looked at it this morning. I said, look at that. Oh, no. That's terrible because it was coming down so fast, and all of a sudden, boom. And it's like got this much on each side. We're going to have to get Elon to explain that, but another time. First, we have to get elected, right? Okay? But he's on our side. He's on our side. You know where he is today? He's in Pennsylvania campaigning for us. Not me, for us. Can you believe it? And he's a great guy. He endorsed us. That was a great endorsement. We had Bobby Kennedy. We have so many great endorsements. Tulsi, great. Tulsi Gabbard. We have so many endorsements. We have endorsements. I could stand here and read them all night long. You know, we had endorsements, the 300 biggest people, plus biggest people in the administration, national security people. Robert O'Brien is the one that I think really led the charge. Robert's around here someplace. But he had 300 plus, the biggest people in government, even from other administrations. They said Trump's the greatest president, Trump's the greatest for security, which is true. Which is true. And I said, this is a big story. Wow, this is a great story. I love it. And they put it out, and the fake news didn't pick it up. They don't. If that were, if we have one sleazebag against because I fired him, you know, the only ones, they always go, whenever you fire somebody, they always go against you. But one sleazebag because I fired him, they make it front page news. When I get 319 of the top people in the country, in the world, some of these people, some names in there you wouldn't even believe. I mean, I don't want to get personal, but there were some names in there you would be surprised at, frankly, because I had my little spats. But I appreciate it. No, it showed that there's a certain love of a country when they do that. I really mean it. And Robert, I want to thank you and Rick Grinnell and all the people, because that was beautiful. But when I saw that list of the best names, the biggest names in national security and security generally and law enforcement, I said, this is a big story. Well, that's great. And I looked up the next day, I looked at the newspaper. Didn't make page one. This, 2, 3, 4. It never made the newspaper. But that's the way they treat us. And we're leading in the polls. How come you're leading in the polls and you can't? How the hell does that work? How does that work? How does that work? But you know why? Because the people are very smart. I found out that people are very smart. But you've been reading this because this has been a big one. In Aurora, Colorado, you have a very weak governor. He's totally beside himself. He's a radical left Democrat. He used to come into the White House. He was so nice. Sir, yes, sir, you're doing a great job as president, sir. And now he says only bad. You know, that's the way it goes. It's a tough business. It's a nasty business. But in Aurora, Colorado, and communities in all 50 states, this Venezuelan gang is terrorizing law-abiding citizens, including taking over the multiple apartment complexes. And let's take a little look at them. They're not nice. You see, that's
the video shows a group of men walking up a stairwell at the Edge Lowry apartment complex in Aurora. All of them appear to be carrying rifles and handguns, and the video shot earlier this month. One of the men can be seen talking on a cell phone. They all then gather around a door and go in. Another video clip shows men forcing a door open.
This is a picture of gang members breaking into a vacant apartment so they could move a Venezuelan family in and then collect rent. This is our business plan, one gang member told a housekeeper. If he, the property manager, doesn't like it, we'll fill him with bullets.
Police in the region say a Venezuelan gang known as Tren de Aragua has victimized thousands through extortion, drug and human trafficking, kidnapping, and murder. Alvaro Bosa, a former Venezuelan police officer now living in Florida, says he fled his country in large part because the gang had become so powerful they could kill law enforcement like him with impunity. Bosa says a fellow police officer who refused to cooperate with the gang was shot 50 times. Now, U.S. law enforcement, including Customs and Border Protection and the FBI, say the gang has made their way into the country.
They have followed the migration paths across South America to other countries and have set up criminal groups throughout South America as they follow those paths.
We tried reaching out to the resources, but they told us since it wasn't actually a condemned building, we would have to wait until that was the issue, but we didn't want to wait for that.
We went out to some of Chicago's most violent neighborhoods to meet with current and former gang members who tell us that TDA first showed up when the city opened up migrant shelters in these areas, and that now the Venezuelans are trying to move in.
The city nonprofits have lined up to help the migrants that have come here, but nobody is helping the American citizens, the residents that are trapped.
They told us that they really couldn't do anything unless something happened. It is not by any means an isolated occurrence, unfortunately. I called 911, no help comes from me. No help. We were on our own and we were left to die.
As far as local law enforcement, I believe at this point that this is far beyond any one local law enforcement agency taking this on, and we need our state and federal partners to step in at this point.
Is this something that you need to take more seriously?
Nice fellas. No, they're in the real estate business. They take over apartments. I do too. I use financing. They use guns. Big guns, like better than our military has. Where do they get those guns? So we're now known all throughout the world as an occupied country. Can you believe it? They said, one of the papers said on another country that we are an occupied country. And you know what? They're not that wrong. But these gentlemen will unoccupy us very quickly. It's really no different than if we had a war, lost a war. But to everyone here in Arizona and all across the land, I make this pledge. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. It's going to be Liberation Day. It's going to happen so fast. Thank you very much. And under Kamala Harris, 13,099 illegal alien convicted murderers are roaming free in the United States, and 425,000 convicted migrant criminals are right now in the United States. But of them, think of this, of them, Of them, 13,099 are murderers, some of many murders, some scheduled for the life they were going to die very shortly. And they said, let's just give them to the United States. What the hell do we have to do the death sentence for? And they're in our country right now. And these are very tough, very dangerous people. They were there for a reason. But think of it, many of them committed more than one murder, and we have them now because we're stupid. We have stupid leaders, and we're getting rid of these stupid leaders. We can't have another 4 years where we have stupid, incompetent leaders. So I will rescue Arizona and every town across America that has been invaded and conquered. They've been conquered. They're conquering the towns. And you know, our governors and our mayors and you know, a lot of people can't blame them. I can't blame them. They don't want to bring it up. Two reasons. Number one, they are scared. They're very scared. Some of them are very scared. The governor of Colorado is scared. Radical left Democrat. If he was a Republican, I wouldn't say that. Even if he was scared, I wouldn't say. No, but he's got a right to be, in all fairness. But you know where they are? All the towns across America, they fly them in now. They fly them in beautiful big Boeing planes. They fly them in. They land in the Midwest. They land all over the place. So it's not just here. They fly them right over the top of the border. They tried to get away with one. 3 months ago, they were getting killed in the polls. So Kamala, I don't use the name Harris because nobody knows who Harris is. I say Harris. Everyone said, who the hell is Harris? I don't know what it is with that name, but it doesn't catch on. Can you believe Kamala catches on better than Harris? Who would believe this? But Kamala was flying them in, and she didn't want to tell anybody. She wanted to keep it secret, but we saw planes all over the place. They're flying them in by the hundreds of thousands, and they don't have to report that. They don't have to report it. These people are sick, and we're going to stop, and we'll put these vicious and bloodthirsty, and that's what they are. They're bloodthirsty criminals. We'll put them in jail. We will get them out of our country. We'll get them out fast. In Texas last year, an illegal alien released into the United States by Kamala was charged for sexually assaulting, strangling, and murdering a 12-year-old girl. You read that one. That was one of many. There's so many now. Before stuffing her body in a trash bag and leaving it under her bed for her mother to find. Can you believe this? Under her bed for her mother to find. Last September, these are animals. Last September, an illegal alien criminal with 9 prior deportations and many prior arrests shot and killed a man in his pickup truck before repeatedly firing at police officers and leading them on a car chase during which he shot and wounded an officer and very, very seriously wounded other people in the chase. And he was wearing a bulletproof vest. Isn't that nice? He had a bulletproof vest. And in Chicago this year, a Venezuelan illegal alien gang member who was set loose into the United States by the horrible non-border protection. It's a non-border. They let anybody come in that wanted to come in. I built hundreds of miles of wall. I then, by the way, built more than I ever promised, but it was working so well. That's why we had the good numbers. And then I was going to add 200 miles more. Then we had a rather strange election, didn't we? We're not going to let that happen again. Not going to let that happen again. Remember, we did great in 2016. We did much better in 2020. Millions of more votes. But led in by these ridiculous non-policies. They had no policy. And what I said to the Border Patrol is right just a minute ago. All the president has to do, all she would have had to do is wake up the president at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Say, Joe, get your ass down to the Oval Office and sign this. Well, if he'd signed what he signed for them, you know, think of it, you know. How did that happen, that whole thing? But you know what? When the president signs an order to close, he doesn't need bills. You know, they made up this fictitious bill. That's the bill that was so bad, so pathetic, that it would have allowed millions of people to become citizens right away. It was a horrible bill. But I'm fine with the bill. But you don't need a bill. All you have to do is you need a president. You know, my father used to tell me, these guys that need letters, they'll come into my office, son, and they'll say, sir, thank you for the job. And, sir, could I have a letter saying that you've promoted me? Those guys never worked out because they need a letter. It was the ones that walked in and said, I'm the boss now, you're gonna listen to me. They didn't need a letter. He always would say, anytime they wanted a letter of authorization, they never worked out. She didn't need anything. She didn't need a bill. All she had to do is have Biden call up the president, only the president, and say, close up the border. And instead, we're paying a big price. You know, people have been talking about, they always rank the different things, and they rank, and I think the polls are wrong about a lot of things, although I don't want to say that now because we're leading, so let's leave them. They're only wrong when they give me a bad one. But we are doing great in the polls. We've done really great in the polls. But I think that the number one issue they have down is the economy and inflation, and I agree, they're horrible issues. But I think the number one issue is the destruction of our country, what's happened at the border. I really think that's actually the number one issue. And I don't care what a poll says, and it's close anyway, but I don't care what a poll says. It's the destruction of a country. What were they thinking? Who wants to have this? Who would allow this to happen where we have murderers, drug dealers, people from mental institutions and insane asylums? Who would allow this to happen to our country? This thug, led in by Kamala Harris, was arrested for shooting a 27-year-old woman multiple times, leaving her riddled body all full of bullet holes behind. And I cannot believe how they allowed this to happen to our country. It's happening at levels that I could recite crimes all day, all night for weeks. And this is just the beginning, because this is a new phenomenon. And I told you about this phenomenon. It's called migrant crime. It's a new category of crime, and it's probably the most vicious crime of all, because despite the fact that she said, oh, these are lovely people, they don't commit crimes. No, these are among the worst criminals anywhere in the world, and they come from all over. A huge number is coming out of jails in the Congo, because what's happening is countries and continents, but countries are releasing their prison populations into our country. And you know what? If I headed up any one of the countries we're talking about, I would have done the same thing. I would have done it even faster. Because who the hell can blame them? Who can blame them? In Venezuela, their crime is down 72% because they've taken the street criminals, they've taken the drug dealers and the drug lords, they've taken all of these people and they've busted them into the United States, and their crime is down now 72%, and it'll go still further because they haven't gotten them all out. But they're coming, and they've taken their prisons, and their prisons are way down, lowest number they've had in many, many decades, because they've moved all of their prisoners, and these are hardened people. They know better than anybody who they are. They know who they are without knowing who they are. And I will tell you something, what they've done to our country, they've emptied out their jails and prisons of the toughest people anywhere in the world, and they dumped them into our country. And we're not going to take it. We're not going to take it. We're going to get rid of these people that allowed this to happen. We're going to get rid of Kamala and Joe. My message to the American people is very simple. No person who has inflicted the violence and terror that so-called border czar, she doesn't want that name anymore. She said, I'm not the border czar. Well, she was, but it doesn't matter if you call her border czar. She was in charge of the border, so call her whatever you want. She doesn't know anything. She can't answer the simplest question. She goes on these shows, and they're softball after softball, and ends up in a scandal every time she opens her mouth. You know, we had 4 years of that. We had 4 years of that. And, you know, in his case, he developed. She was born that way. And it's violence and terror that border czar Harris has unleashed on our country can never be allowed to become the president of the United States. Our country can't take it. Anyone who would import criminal gangs to occupy America cannot ask to be president. Anyone who orchestrated an invasion of America cannot lead America. Kamala Harris's reign of terror ends the day I take the oath of office. To expedite removal of Tren de Aragua. I have good luck with that name. Some people can't do it. They said, sir, why don't we just, they say TDR. I say, no, that doesn't sound too good. That sounds like a drugstore. I don't want to do that, of course. Nowadays, if you look at our drugstores, they do pretty good there. Do you see the drugstores? You can't get anything in certain places. You can't, most places. They have to put up glass in front because everything's taken. They walk out, they just take it. Do you know, she's the one that passed a law in San Francisco, destroyed, where if you steal $950 or less, you're not going to be prosecuted. Can you believe it? I don't think that Kari Lake agrees with that particular law. You're not into that, are you? I think she's a tough one. This is what you need. I hate to say it. She's tough as hell. This is what you need. You need it. I watched her debate. I haven't even spoken to her. So I watched your debate, though, at about 3 o'clock in the morning. I watched that debate. It's, you know, the TiVo or its equivalent. I give it the greatest invention in history, TiVo or its equivalent. I watched your debate due to that kind of thing that we can do nowadays. You destroyed that poor guy. Man. You know, they have an expression, if that were a fight, they would have stopped it. But that was a destruction. But I don't know how many people. You got to make that into a movie or something. Anybody that sees that would never vote for this guy. He's a total lightweight. And this woman has given up a lot. She had great success, everything she did. You got to get her in. You got to get her. True. To expedite removal of the Tren de Aragua and other savage gangs, I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Can you imagine? Those were the old days when they had tough politicians. I have to go back that long. Think of that, 1798. Oh, it's a powerful act. You couldn't pass something like that today. Today, we're politically correct. Today, people kill and they end up getting out on bail in 2 minutes. No, this is a little different act. The Aliens Enemy Act, 1798, to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. 100%. And in honor of the great people of Aurora, Colorado, we will call this Operation Aurora, because they were the first to suffer with this group of thugs. And if they come back into our country after removal, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. No possibility. Not that we want to do it. But by the way, not that we want to do it. We all have big hearts, but you know, it's not sustainable. We're not going to have a country. It's not sustainable. You see what's going on with the cities? New York has a $3 billion bill. I always heard New York is low on funds. A $3 billion bill, and the federal government's not going to pick it up. And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer. Thank you. They kill an American citizen or a law enforcement officer. And if you ever wanted to stop drugs as opposed to blue ribbon, I set up so many blue ribbon committees. You know, our First Lady did a fantastic job on this. She headed up a commission. And she got the number. And by the way, she wrote a great book. Go buy it. It's called Melania. And she says very nice things about me. I was worried. I wouldn't have. If she didn't, I wouldn't be talking about that book at all. I'd pretend it never happened. No, she's great. And she wrote a great book. I think it's the #1 bestseller now. Can you believe it? So go buy it. Melania. Go buy it. But Kamala's actions as the border czar are especially egregious. It's a betrayal of the brave men and women who devote their lives to securing our borders. They are treated so badly, so badly. They are treated so badly. It's so horrible. They're heroes, but they're not treated like heroes. But you know, I tell them all the time, the people know you're heroes. It's the radical left lunatics that don't treat them properly. I call them the heroes of ICE and the heroes of Border Patrol. They're incredible. And these courageous patriots, they risk their lives to keep America safe and our borders secure. And then Kamala came along and demanded that they aid and abet the invasion of our country, which really is what they're told to do, which they have dedicated their lives to prevent. And they are not happy. And she only bothered, if she only just did this, all she had to do is go to the border for the first time. You know, it took her, what, 3.5 years to go there? And then she went to a place that I'd love to go for dinner sometime with you people. She never went. She didn't go to the border for the whole time. It was a great insult. And I used to call them all the time. In fact, they thought I was a pain in the ass. I'd call them, how's the border going, fellas? How's it going, Art? How's it going, Brandon? How we doing? Paul, how we doing, Paul? How's the border, Paul? They would get my call. They say, this guy, he's crazy. No, I was not crazy. I want to have a strong border. And that's why we had that beautiful chart. My favorite chart in history. I sleep with it. I kiss it. Even if that chart had bad numbers, I would have loved that chart. That was my all-time favorite. Every night I'd take it to bed with me. I'd kiss it. But today I'm honored to receive, and this was an honor that I didn't know about till very recently, the endorsement, because it's very hard for them to do this, you know? It's very hard for them to do this. But the endorsement of the official union of the Border Patrol agents, the entire union is endorsing it. It's a great honor. They said it was unanimous, thousands of people. Thank you. And they have thousands of people. They said it was unanimous. And I will say I have the endorsement of almost every single law enforcement group, sheriffs and police, the fraternal order, 400,000. And it's hard for them to do endorsements. You know, it's not an easy thing to do, but there comes a point when you have really no choice. I'd like to thank the former president of the National Border Patrol, a friend of mine, Council Brandon. It's an incredible council, actually. Brandon Judd, who's here someplace. Brandon. Thank you, Brandon. And I'd like to formally introduce the new president of the council, another friend. They become friends of yours. It's like you're in a war together. When I was here, when I was running things, that border was a big deal to me. We wouldn't let people in. We had a year, would be 2019, where they said zero, and I think they were wrong on this, to be honest. They said 0 terrorists came in, 0. The following year, they said 11. Now they have thousands of terrorists pouring into our country. These are stone-cold, hardened terrorists. Bad things are going to happen. We're going to get them the hell out of here before they do, I'll tell you. But the new president of the council, another great friend of mine, is Paul Perez. And he joined by a very highly respected man, Art Del Cueto. Art Del Cueto, vice president. And maybe we could ask them to come on up. We're also joined very proudly today by a large delegation of our nation's frontline border agents. These are incredible people. So let's show our appreciation for their unbelievable service to our country.
America, I have a message for you. If we allow Border Czar Harris to win this election, every city, every community in this great country is going to go to hell. The untold millions of people, unvetted, who she has allowed into this country that are committing murders, rapes, robberies, burglaries, and every other crime will continue to put our country in peril. Only one man can fix that. That is Donald J. Trump. He has always stood with the men and women who protect this border, who put their lives on the line for the country. A man who knows about putting his life on the line for what is right. This November, we have a choice to make. Continue the chaos, allow the criminal cartels to control the border, to allow drugs and fentanyl across our country, or put an end to it once and for all. On behalf of the 16,000 men and women represented by the National Border Patrol Council, we strongly support and endorse Donald J. Trump for President of the United States.
Good job. I gotta tell you, I was a little worried. He got up, he had no notes. He didn't have a teleprompter. I can understand that. I don't use it too much either. And it is nice to have people that don't need teleprompters, isn't it? But he got up here, and he had no notes, and you gave a perfect deal. I think we're gonna all have to go back inside. That was a good job. Did he do a good job? Look at all these Border Patrol and ICE. They're great heroes. And I want to let you know, Paul, I want to just tell you and everybody, all my friends, I have so many of them in this group. It's an incredible group of people. I will always stand with the incredible men and women of Border Patrol. And today I'm announcing a plan to address the shortage. You know, we have a tremendous shortage because they haven't been treated right. They want to do their jobs. You know, they consider it bad treatment when you're not allowed to do your job. And that's the biggest problem. They don't want people running in front of them. They want to stop them from coming in. And that's going to save a lot of people, including the people they're stopping. But to address the shortage of Border Patrol agents caused by the catastrophic failures of Kamala, our great border czar, who's the worst in history, we have a tremendous morale crisis because of her and her policies. I mean, think of it. Not one of the leaders, you have all the leaders up here, you have all the leaders in the room, you have Brandon right over there, was a leader for a long time, brilliantly the leader, never got a call from them. Not Biden, he was sleeping, and not her. No, not her, she never called. Never once. I saw this, I didn't ask them. I saw this, and a reporter asked Paul, have you ever been called? No, I haven't. How can you do that? Most important thing, it's the fabric and lifeblood of our country, and they're destroying our country, and they never even, and these are the people in charge. So there's a big morale problem, and she ruined the jobs of a lot of these border agents. They went after people, remember? With the horses, do you remember that? Do you remember? That was a terrible thing. It turned out that they were totally wrong, but they went after a lot of other people, very innocent people. They go after those people, but they don't go after the criminals that are coming in to kill. They don't go after them. So in order to meet the goal of hiring 10,000 new agents, we need the agents. We need them badly. And keeping our incredible veteran agents on the force. Don't leave us. Raise your right hand. You're not going to leave. You're not going to leave. Don't leave us, fellas. I don't have to worry about them. They're very committed people. If we paid them nothing, they're not leaving. They want to save our country. They're going to save our country. But after I win, I will be asking Congress immediately to approve a 10% raise. I haven't had one in a long time for all agents. And a $10,000 each retention and signing bonus. So we're going to retain them. We're going to retain them. It's almost like being a great baseball player or football player, but not quite as much money, but not bad, right? No, we're going to retain them, and they deserve it. They've been treated unbelievably badly, and the fact that they continue. And you don't hear they're going out on strike. They're going to this, they don't do that. They would never do it. They're just incredible people. This will ensure that we can hire and keep the Border Patrol agents that we need to keep, and we can also bring in a lot of new ones, really great ones, and we're going to have our choice. I think we're going to have our choice. There's going to be a whole new spirit. This is a group that really needs spirit because they're protecting us, they're protecting our lives, they're protecting our country. So we're going to be doing that. And while you guys are up here, I also want to introduce a great guy and a very big man in the world of law enforcement, national president of the Fraternal Order of Police, Patrick Yose, representing 400,000 law enforcement, largest in the country by far, law enforcement officers, and I'm truly honored to have their endorsement as well. Patrick, thank you, wherever you may be. Thank you, Patrick. That's really nice. I'd have you up here, but I don't think Secret Service will allow anybody to get through this. It's gotten a little tight. That's good. That's supposed to be that way. Patrick, thank you. 400,000. Wow, that's great. I think we have every law enforcement group in the United States, the sheriffs. They're incredible people, and they really do. It's easier for them not to do their job. They want to work like hell, and they want to clean out our country and straighten out our country. And we want to have people in our country that love our country. They love our country. And we're going to have that. And despite all of the damage that Kamala has inflicted on the state, and, you know, don't forget, she's the vice president, right? But Joe gave her the assignment, and so I don't even mention his name. I'm not even sure what is he doing? Although, he's looked very good lately. He's looked better than her, actually. No, I've always said, I'm not a big fan of his, as you probably have heard, but he's superior to her. He's more intelligent than she is. Can you believe? You ever think you'd be hearing that? And I mean it. But she said last week that she can't think of one thing that she would do differently. Not one thing. Think of it, not one thing. So, fellas, you stay up here, just look at this one tape, and then you go back and enjoy it. But I just want to tell you, you are phenomenal people. We love you all, and you're doing a great job for our country. Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
I stood there on the tarmac watching you check your watch.
The chaotic and deadly U.S. evacuation from Afghanistan stunned Americans and the world and cost the lives of 13 U.S. soldiers.
Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been caught at the border and then released into the United States.
An Afghan national is in custody today after being accused of plotting an election day terrorist attack. The suspect entered the U.S. on a special immigrant visa.
Gut-wrenching new details in the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national who crossed the unsecured southern border back in 2022.
Two men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder in the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
A fifth illegal immigrant accused of attacking two New York City police officers over the weekend showed no remorse or regret.
Would you have done done something differently.
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Only 18% say the economy is in excellent or good condition.
US inflation has hit a new 40-year high, increasing by 9.1% over the financial year.
The cost of homes have spiked. Home buyers need to earn 80% more than they did in 2020 to afford a house.
Were you the last person in the room? Yes.
Appreciate it, Paul. Thank you. Thank you. You be blessed, sir. You be blessed. Great job. You'll do it. Okay. I'll have you. Thanks. Great people. By the way, I see a couple of other people. Do you mind if I introduce to Cash? Stand up, Cash. Cash Patel. And I spotted him. You had no problems when he was in charge. You know who that is? Sheriff Joe. Sheriff Joe! Oh, stand up. Oh. Brandon, sign him up immediately. Paul, you got to sign him up immediately. Sheriff Joe. Well, you didn't have any problems with Sheriff Joe. He was tough and fair. You know what? He was actually very fair. He was amazing. Thank you very much, Sheriff Joe. I just saw you here. I would have had you come up, but you are a special guy. Thank you. He had a wonderful wife. He just lost his wife a little while ago, but she was a wonderful woman, and she's looking down at you. You couldn't have made her life too easy, I could guarantee you that. But she loved you, Sheriff Joe, so you take care of yourself, okay? Great guy. So the answer that she would do nothing different is totally disqualifying. So think of it. We have the worst president in the history of our country by far. The happiest man is Jimmy Carter because he was brilliant by comparison. His administration is considered now brilliant by comparison. We have the worst. And she says that she would do nothing different than the worst president that we've ever had. We have a right track, wrong track, where he sets a record every week for the wrong track. And she says that because it wasn't that she really meant that. What she really wanted to do, but she couldn't think of anything. When I heard that question, I said, oh, this is going to be a bad answer for me. Meaning she's going to knock this one out of the park. And she said, no, I want to be the same as Joe Biden. Anybody that votes for her, you should have your head examined. She wanted to know the truth. "86% of the country thinks we're on the wrong track. And she says, no, I do everything the same. Keep the airplanes flying. You know the worst thing? And I'll bring this up a little separately. 325,000 young children are probably dead or missing, but certainly missing. And they're either sex slaves, or they're dead. Think of the number. It's not 2, which is too many. It's not 100. It's 325,000 lives are probably gone. Their parents will never get to see them again. And these are people that she allowed just as if she had a gun in her hand, okay? And for that woman to be running for president is a disgrace, and everybody knows it. How can you keep someone who's stated plainly and clearly that she will change absolutely nothing from Biden? Kamala is turning us into a third world nation. Weaponization. How about the weaponization? I've been investigated more than the great Alphonse Capone, late great. Do you guys know Alphonse Capone, Scarface? This is a rough guy. I don't know. He may be even too tough for Paul. I don't know, Paul. This is a tough one. Alphonse Capone, Scarface. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. It's called the weaponization of the Justice Department. And we've never had it. This was a third world, happens all the time in the third world, banana republics. It happened in the United States. And can you believe I'm leading? Who the hell, where did it happen where you're leading? Because the people get it. They get it. All my life, I never had a problem. Now my beautiful parents are up in heaven. I think they are. Even my father made it there. He could be rough, but I think because he was a good person, strong, tough, but he was a good person. My mother, guarantee. She's a guaranteed. But they're up there looking down. They say, how did this happen to my son? You know, I could have been on the most beautiful beaches in the world right now. I could have been enjoying a life, the waves smacking me in the face, my beautiful mane of hair blowing in the breeze. No hairspray, no hairspray necessary. The most beautiful places in the world. I own some of the greatest clubs. I could have had the greatest life. But I'd rather be in Arizona with you and these people all day long because we're going to make America great again. Right? Right? Thank you. With our victory, we will become the greatest, strongest, freest, and safest, and the most powerful nation again in the world. We're not considered a great nation right now, but we're going to be a great nation again, and it's not going to take long. I will quickly defeat inflation, and we will make America affordable again. We're going to have to do that. It's not affordable. And you know what people bring up more than anything? Simple things like groceries. They say groceries. Who would think that? Groceries. But they bring it up. Cars. They do a lot of different, everything basically. Look, we had the worst inflation, I think, they say in 48 years, I think ever. There's never been anything like it. And they don't even put the really bad, like as an example, we had interest rates at 2%. They went up to 10%. Well, they don't include that. They don't include many things. And by the way, at 10%, you can't get the money. So obviously it's much higher than 10%. For all of the working people struggling under Kamala's inflation nightmare, we will have large tax cuts for workers. We're going to have beautiful additional tax cuts, including no tax on tips. No tax on tips. No tax on overtime. And no tax on Social Security benefits for our seniors. And you deserve it. You know, the seniors have suffered because they're in fixed income, many of them, and the inflation has made it impossible. Everything they've taken in, and it's just gone. They're wiped out, and we're not going to do that. We're not going to let that. Then they're supposed to pay tax yet. By contrast, Kamala Harris is known as the taxing queen. She loves taxes. She's the only one I've ever seen. She campaigns on the fact that she wants to give you a 70% tax increase. Her plan will raise your typical American family taxes by at least $3,000 a year, congratulations, and run a bad and unsafe government. I also announced last week that we will make interest payments on cars, loans. We're going to make them tax deductible first time. Because affording a car is essential to restoring the American dream, which we're going to restore. You know, friends of mine called me and they said, some of the biggest analysts, the greatest analysts on Wall Street, brilliant guys, where did you ever come up with the idea of deducting interest? You know, it's like the paperclip. It was developed about 125 years ago. Some guy took a little, and he made the paperclip. And everybody says, oh man, why didn't I think of that, right? It's like deductibility. It's going to be incredible because you'll sell a lot more cars, and we're going to protect our car business now. We're going to protect them. Made in the USA, and we don't have to go through it, but made in the USA, and we're going to protect them with tariffs. I do have to tell you one quick story. You don't mind if I never go back on the teleprompter again, do you? No, I watch Paul, and I say, damn it, I don't think I'm supposed to use the teleprompter anymore, Kari. You know? I watch the way. So I've been telling you a story for about a year that in Mexico, they're building some of the biggest car plants anywhere in the world. And I told you about a friend of mine who's a brilliant guy, but especially when it comes to building a car plant. With other things, he's not so good, but he can build a computerized car plant. It's unbelievable. So I saw him about 4 or 5 months ago, and I said, you know, I want you to take me on a tour of one of your plants. He's the biggest builder of plants in the world. I want you, so you'll be able to figure them out if you really want to. I don't think the fake news, wow, that's a lot of fake news back there. That's a lot of cameras. I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice. That's a lot. That's a lot of fake news. Holy mackerel. Look at those red lights go off. Those red lights, those suckers are going off. Every time I do that, those lights go off because they don't want me to call them corrupt and horrible people. You can let them go back on now. I'll get off. No, I just looked up. That's a lot of cameras. Who the hell can do this 2-3 times a day? One little mistake. If I pronounce a word slightly wrong, and I tend not to go back because I don't want to go back. I don't want to say, excuse me, let me go. I like to bull through it. So I speak for hours, mostly without a teleprompter, really mostly. One mispronunciation of a word. He's cognitively impaired. He's getting old. He's getting old. He mispronounced a word like the name of the gang, if I did. No, I think I got it perfectly, didn't I? But if they see any, they watch for weeks and weeks. For weeks and weeks, I'm up here ranting and raving. Last night, 100,000 people, flawless, ranting and raving. I'm ranting and raving. Not a mistake. And then I'll be at a little thing and I'll say something a little bit like I'll say, duh. They'll say, he's cognitively impaired. No, I'll let you know when I will be. I will be someday. We all will be someday, but I'll be the first to let you know. But when you can do this 3-4 times a day, and you can go from site to site, from Arizona to Pennsylvania to Michigan. Right? And then you have some little writer at the New York Times who's been really bad lately. They follow every single word. Did he get, wait a minute. He said something wrong. I actually say things very right, and they'll use the same story but belittle it like it doesn't exist, but it all exists. But they love it, because Biden was obviously cognitively impaired. She should have reported him because that puts our nation in danger. We've never been so close to being in World War III than we are right now. And don't kid yourself, we have an election coming up, but we still have like 3.5 months left. And it's a long time in a nuclear world. And that would be a war like no other. And I'm not thrilled about the people representing us, even for a short period of time. But I just have to say, because you read so much, and now some people say he's the single greatest speaker of all time. Because you know what? Nobody's ever, I actually asked that question. Hundreds of thousands of people show up, and I assume it's for my looks. But I say, I said it today to Brandon. I said, Brandon, it's funny. I look outside, you could fill this place up 3 times. If anybody would like to give up your seat, please. But outside it's packed. We put up television screens now. But I said to Brandon just a little while ago, I said, I draw all these people. I don't think I've ever had a story that Trump is a great speaker. I hear about great speakers like Churchill. I hear about a lot of great speakers. But I've never heard that Trump is a great, now I'm in trouble, because you know what they're going to do? He's comparing himself to Winston Churchill. No, that's what they'll do, Andy, right? That's what they'll do. They'll say, he's comparing himself. He was angry about... No, I've never had a story that and there's a reason these crowds are coming. And someday they're going to figure, she said, because we love you, and I love you too. That's why I come. She said that. How good is that? Where is that woman? Stand up. Oh, stand up. Look at her. Wow. I would say that's beautiful. Is she your wife? You know what? I would say she's a beautiful woman, but if I did say that, my political career, you're not allowed to say that. So I'm not allowed to call you a beautiful woman, but she is. So, crazy what's gone on. Have to be politically correct nowadays. And we're going to have something about our military talking about being politically correct, because we have a great military. I knocked out ISIS. I knocked out ISIS so fast. I knocked out ISIS so fast to bring jobs and factories and wealth racing back to our shores. we will have a 15% made in America corporate tax rate. Now you have to understand, I brought it down from almost 40%. And these are corporations. They don't have to be in our country. You know, in the old days, they'd move from state to state. Now they move from country to country. Every country wants our corporations. So we have to treat them good. Kamala wants to take their taxes and raise them. And you know what they do? They'll say, that's okay. Let's go to Ireland. You know, the pharmaceutical industry moved to Ireland. Let's go to Europe. Let's go to Asia. Let's go to China. They want them so badly. So I moved it from 39, almost 40%, down to 21% and got it approved in Congress. But that doesn't make us great. It makes us good. It makes us competitive, sort of more than competitive. It was good. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country when I did that. We took in more revenue at 21 than we did at 39, which was amazing. People were pouring in. But here's what we're doing now. I'm moving it down to 15%, but only for those people who make their products in America. And in other words, a company, and by the way, you're going to see companies pouring back into our country. Somebody said, what are you going to do about the debt? We have a lot of debt, you know, a lot of debt. And we were doing this, and then we got the China virus stuff, and that came out of nowhere. And we had to focus on that because people, and I wasn't really, I mean, other countries suffered so badly. Other countries, proportionally, they suffered worse than us. You know who suffered worse than us proportionally? It's China. So, you know, it's like one of those things. But, so we had to focus on that. We did a great job in that. We never got credit. You know, we never got credit for that, but we did a great job on that. Nobody knew what the hell it was. It came in. I mean, you know our famous operation. They call it Operation Warp Speed. Operation Warp Speed gets military credit for being one of the most incredible things that they've ever seen, distribution of things. But we did a great job, and we got that. We handed over a country that was better. The stock market was higher than it was just previous to COVID coming in. So we did a great job, but we were in the process of doing this, and a friend of mine called up from Wall Street. He's considered a brilliant analyst. He said, like the other one, he said, where did you come up with the idea of taking it down, but only for companies that make their product? He said, that's a great idea. Can you imagine? You have all these 185 IQ people on Wall Street. That's sort of the ultimate. I think they say, you know who the smartest person they say in history was? Albert Einstein. He said Trump. I agree with him. He said Trump. My uncle, Dr. John Trump, MIT, 40 years. That's pretty smart. He was smart. My uncle was very smart. He used to tell me things a long time ago about nuclear. He said, someday, son, they'll have a weapon that you'll be able to carry into a building like a handbag, and it will blow up New York City. I said, Uncle John, that's never going to happen. He's the longest serving professor in the history of MIT, like 40 years or 41 years. Can you imagine? So this is good. Does anybody believe in genes? Do you guys believe in genetics? These guys have good genetics too for safety, and that's all we want you for. We don't want you for anything else. We don't want you for anything else. But for those who, but they were asking me, where did you come up with this idea? It's just an idea. And you only get it if you make your product here, because we want jobs. We want jobs. It's about jobs. It's not about the products. But then we have to protect those companies that move in and the companies that we have. The auto industry has been wiped out. We will have more auto jobs than we did. It's my biggest ambition, have more auto jobs than we did 50 years ago in the prime. We are a tiny fraction of what we used to be, a fraction. And companies are going to move in at a level that nobody's ever seen, but we have to protect them. So how do we protect them? With tariffs. If you don't move your plant into the United States, we put tariffs. You're not going to make your car in China. I already did that, 27.5% tariff. Do you know Biden never took it off? Because if he ever did, it's so much money. But also, if he ever did, our country would be just overrun. We would have a country that was overrun with Chinese cars pouring in, and Detroit would be finished. It's almost finished now. You know, they lost 30,000 workers. They go to the all-electric mandate where everybody has to have an electric car. I have to be very careful because Elon endorsed me. But can I tell you, he understands it. It's not for everyone. What he does is incredible. The car is incredible. What he does, and you know the beautiful thing, he endorsed me. He's in Pennsylvania right now, and I should be there probably. Maybe, I don't know. Well, I hear we're leading so much. I hear we're leading in your great state by so much. But I said, nope. We're going to be here. We're going to do it just the way we want to do it, and we're going to be in Pennsylvania a lot over the next 3 days. But he never once said. And, you know, this is a tribute, but look at the rockets coming in. He never once said to me, would you do me a favor? Could you lay off the electric car? No, the electric car is beautiful. It's great, and it's got a great market. It's going to do great. They're all going to do, I think it's great, but not 100%, because they're going to be made in China, most of them, because that's where we have a thing under our feet. It's called oil and gas. I call it liquid gold. So if you don't mind, we'll use that. And we're going to have hybrids. We're going to have electric. We're going to have everything. We're going to have gasoline-propelled cars. We have one other thing. You know about the new one that's come along? Does everyone know about hydrogen? We have a new technology that's coming along. It's coming along beautifully, Cash. It's coming along beautifully. It's hydrogen. It has one minor problem. It blows up. And when it blows up, and it doesn't happen often, like maybe one car a day. And when it blows up, you are unrecognizable. They call your wife, would you please come down to see if this is your husband that's laying next to a tree? And the wife goes over and said, no, I don't recognize that man. He's gone, whoever the poor guy is. No. So I'm not going to go heavy into hydrogen, if you don't mind, but electric and all. But we want to do this. We're going to move so many car companies are going to come back. They're going to come back from Germany. They're going to come back into our great country. And I will tell you that we will have a golden age. It just started. We have a golden age. And, you know, if you look at the Teamsters, did you see the Teamsters? They voted. The rank and file voted for Trump. The firemen voted for Trump. The policemen and women voted for Trump. Amazing. The firemen and women hadn't voted for a Republican ever. It goes back a long time. Firemen and women, that goes back a long time. They voted for Trump. Can you imagine? The rank and file. And the Teamsters, I don't think they ever did either, but they voted for Trump. We got 61% of the vote. 61% of the vote. So there's something happening. It's changing. You know, I watch these people talking on television. They say, there's a change, and there is a change. You know what the change is? They want to see our country be great again. They want to make America great again, and they're seeing it. And they want to see our country be safe, too, and it's going to be safe. Because of them, it's going to be safe. So for all of this to happen, the car companies come back, our country be safe, Arizona must get out and vote. You got to get out and vote. That's all I don't want your money. Don't give me your money. We don't need money. We need votes. Got to get out and vote. All you need to do is make sure a couple of things happen. For instance, this woman that I just mentioned, Kari Lake, she's running. She did so well. She's been an incredible candidate. If you looked at their last race, that was a great race. But I want to just, if you don't mind, I'm going to have Kari Lake come up just for a couple of seconds and say a couple of words. You got to vote her in. You got to vote her in. Be careful. I said, be careful, Kari, because that blows it. Yes. If you fall, that blows it.
We love you. Mwah. Oh, my goodness, do we love this man. You know, I used to say, after the first term of President Trump, we just witnessed one of the great presidents in American history. And now I say, this is the greatest president in American history. But I think it goes further than that. I think we are in the midst of one of the greatest leaders in human history, and his name is Donald J. Trump. This guy right here. but we got to get out and do our part. He's done so much work for us. Now each and every one of us has to do our part. That means we get out and we vote early. Can you do it? And then we call, how many of you have 10 friends? Okay. How many of you have 5 friends? Call every friend in your contact list and make sure they're going to get out and vote for Donald J. Trump and Kari Lake for U.S. Senate. I want to go to Washington, D.C. and help President Trump secure our border, make our state safe again, make our state affordable again, and make our kids have access to the American dream. We love you, President Trump, and we're going to win Arizona for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kari. Thank you. Yeah, she's great. She loves the state. She wants to see a very safe place, and that's going to happen. So thank you very much, Kari. We're also pleased to be joined by Senator Mike Lee, a fantastic guy. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. And also we have members of Congress. They've become such friends of mine. For whatever reason, I like these members a lot. From your state, Andy Biggs. Thank you. Warrior. He's a little on the conservative side, right? And that's okay, right? You know what he is? He's on the common sense side. Because that's what I say, we're the party of common sense more than anything else, right? So thank you very much. Great job. Blake Moore. Thank you. Thank you, Blake. Thank you. Celeste Malloy. Celeste. Paul Gosar. I love this guy. I love that guy. You talk about a fighter. Boy, he is some fighter. He fights everybody. He doesn't care. He just wants the state to be good. State or country. I think state maybe even in your case comes before the country. We got to talk about that. This guy, stand up once again, quick. Come on, stand up. There are a few like him. Right, Andy? Thank you. Great job you're doing. Thank you. Eli Crane. Great, great. Doing a fantastic job. And we have a very popular candidate. I don't even know why it's candidate. I mean, I feel he's been there for a long time. He's done really a fantastic job. Abe Hamadeh. Thank you. Feels like you've been there a long time, man. And the chairwoman of the Yavapai Apache tribe, Tanya Lewis. Tanya, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tanya. Oh, beautiful. You look great. Thank you, darling. Also, we have many Arizonans in our room. We have some incredible people in our room. We have so many that we just can't. But we have some people in our room that I'm not going to mention because they fully understand why, because I don't have time. But Robert O'Brien I'm mentioning because he's the one that got the 300 plus people. So Robert O'Brien, please stand up. Thank you. And Rick Grinnell, is Rick here? What happened to Rick? What happened to Rick? Oh, he's in trouble. Attorney General Sean Reyes. Thank you, Sean. Thank you. Raul Labrador. Thank you very much. Thanks. And Glenn Beck. I'm going to be doing his show. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Glenn. And two guys that are definitely strong people, Dave Riley and Dave Sparks, also known as Diesel Brothers. The Diesel Brothers. And Gold Star father, Darren Hoover, and mother, Kelly Barnett. They're here, and they're incredible people. I've gotten to know them. Taylor Hoover gave his life in Afghanistan. And thank you both very much. Thank you very much. Great young guy. Should have never happened. Should have never happened. They should have been at Bagram, and they should have done it properly. They didn't do the right job, but We appreciate it. It's great knowing you, too. Gotten to know them, gotten to know a lot of the 13 families and the incredible people. Should have never happened. It was gross incompetence. Number one, you don't take your soldiers out first. You take them out last. That was the start. But we appreciate it very much, and we'll see you again soon. I also want to send our love back to everyone in the East affected by the terrible recent hurricanes, and God bless you all. They've gone through a lot. Thank you. So, in closing, I just want to say Kamala Harris is a radical left Marxist, rated even worse than Bernie Sanders or Pocahontas. Do you know who Pocahontas? She cost the typical American family $29,000 worth of her inflation nightmare. It cost you $29,000. You wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had Ukraine being attacked by Russia. You wouldn't have October 7th with Israel. It wouldn't have happened. You wouldn't have had that horrible, we were leaving Afghanistan, we would have left with dignity and strength, and we would have kept Bagram, the big air base that we gave up to China. China now has it. Congratulations. The reason we should have kept it is because it was 1 hour away from where China makes their missiles. And just a horrible thing that we did. This group of people, and nobody gets fired. That's why nobody writes books about this guy. Well, number one, they wouldn't be buying them probably anyway, but nobody ever gets fired. Every general in that deal should have been fired. Every single general. You know, I defeated ISIS rapidly. We did it in a matter of weeks. It was supposed to take years. We have a great military, but we defeated. But you know, with Biden, they have all those mistakes made constantly on inflation, on everything's a mistake. Just nothing works that he does. Nothing works. Nobody ever gets fired. I think he does that to avoid the bad books. But it's a terrible thing. When you do a bad job, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. But Kamala was an original creator, I'm sure Border Patrol and ICE would like to hear this, of defund the police. She wanted to have defund the police. She was one of the people in charge. She was the proud defunder of the police. And by the way, anybody who wants to defund the police, even if it was for a short time, and in her case it was many years, is not worthy of being president of the United States. Kamala Harris vowed to abolish ICE, their friends. She wants to ban fracking as California Attorney General. She redefined, check, and this is like crazy, child sex trafficking, assault with a deadly weapon, and rape of an unconscious person. She redefined them as totally nonviolent crimes. No, remember, she changed all of it. She's a different one. A year ago, if you looked at the debate where she was the first one to lose, she never got to Iowa. Great state, we love Iowa. See, now I don't have to go there because I've given it the kudos that it deserves. It's a great place, but we're leading by so much we don't have to go. Thank you, Iowa, I love you. But she never got to Iowa. She was out in the primaries. She was the first one out of 22. She got thrown out, and now here she is. She pledged to confiscate your guns and endorsed a total ban on handgun ownership. But think of it. 15 different things she changed. She took things, now she thinks fracking is wonderful. Now she thinks the ownership of a gun is a wonderful thing. She said, oh, I have one. What kind is it? Let me think about that. She even called for free sex changes for illegal aliens in detention, all at taxpayer expense. And she wanted to turn, but we're not going to let her. We'll get there in time. By the way, they're incapable of doing this anyway. Our military will never be woke. A couple of the losers on top, but will never be woke. It will never be woke. Take a look at this on the beautiful screen behind me. Take a look.
You little scumbag! I got your name. I got your ass. You will not laugh. You will not cry. You will learn by the numbers.
Happy Pride. Happy Pride Month. And actually, let's declare it a summer of pride.
So you're a killer? Sir, yes, sir. Let me see your war face. Sir, you got a war face? Ah! That's a war face. Now let me see your Convince me. Let me see your real war face.
I hear it and I know you wanna take.
You will be a weapon. You will be a minister of death, praying for war. But until that day, you are pukes. You are the lowest form of life on earth. You are not even human fucking beings. You are nothing but unorganized, grabastic pieces of amphibian shit.
Abracadabra, these bitches know I got answers the way I...
It looks to me like the best part of you ran down to crack the Obama's ass and ended up as a brown stain on the mattress. I love working for Uncle Sam. I love working for Uncle Sam. Let me know who I am. Let me know just who I am. 1, 2, 3, 4, United States Marine Corps. 1, 2, 3, 4, United States Marine Corps.
All right. We won 2 world wars, and then we changed the name of bases. Can you imagine? And in North Carolina, they want the name Bragg. We took it out, Fort Bragg. It's now got a different name. It's now got a different name. We'll have to see about that. I think we're going to change that name back. And Kamala also lied about, I hate to bring it up because it's sort of so simple. They could say, oh, he speaks in such simple terms. But she said she had a job at McDonald's, and it was a lie. She never worked at McDonald's. So I bring it up. Oftentimes, it's the best thing you can say. No, she lied about McDonald's. I think next week or shortly thereafter, I am going to McDonald's to stand over the French fries so I can see how hard her job that never turned out would be. And by the way, the head of the Republican Party in Arizona is here. Please stand up. What a job you're doing. What a job. I just spotted you. Wow. And I hear we're doing well, huh? It's good. Yeah, we hear good things. Early voting, we hear get out and vote, get out and vote. Thank you. Great job you're doing. With your vote this November, we're going to defeat this radical left country destroyer. We're going to finish what we very brilliantly started. We had something going. We had the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had the best we've ever had, but the best. We had the safest border, the best border, the fewest people, the fewest drugs. We were watching the drugs. Human trafficking, which is mostly in women, unfortunately. It's vicious. Mostly in women. We had everything down to the lowest numbers they've ever seen. We will quickly become energy independent again. Think of it. We were energy independent 4 years ago. But we will immediately frack, and drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill. And I will cut your energy prices in half within 12 months. Everybody in this room, within 12 months, we have liquid gold, and we can do anything. We buy our oil from Venezuela. We call it Venezuelan tar. It's not, it's tar. And you have to take it and heat the hell out of it. What a mess. Goes right up for those environmentalists. If you are an environmentalist, it goes right up. And you know where it's done? In Houston. Because it's the only plant that can do it. It's the only plant that's equipped to do it. I will cancel Kamala Harris's insane electric vehicle mandate immediately. All forms of cars. Because a couple of people told me they don't want to stop 12 times to take a drive to Washington. You don't want to drive to various parts of the country when you can drive and have gasoline left over. You don't want to stop 19 times. I will stop outsourcing and turn the U.S. into a manufacturing superpower. That's going to happen because what I told you about the cars is applicable to every other industry. We're going to have so many new businesses. You're going to be calling me. Remember, I used to talk about winning, right? Same thing. Please, sir, please, we can't take any more companies coming into America. It's too many, sir. It's no good. They're coming in from Germany. They're coming in from Japan. Sir, we can't take it anymore. We can't take the jobs. We can't take the money that we're making. We never made so much damn money. Everybody wants us to work there, sir. They're paying us anything. Please stop, sir. We can't take it anymore. Remember we used to do that with winning. You're going to win so much, and I'd have one of your senators. I'd I'd have cash come in, I'd have all these guys come in. They'd probably have to send Sheriff Joe, because he's the one that gets to me better than anybody, probably. They'll send, and Sheriff Joe and Brandon and Kari, and they'll all come in and they'll say, sir, remember, we're winning too much, sir, we can't take it, because we've been a loser for so long. And we used to joke, and we weren't joking, because we were winning like we never won before. Our economy became the best economy we've ever had. We were doubling up on China. China paid us hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes and tariffs. No other president got 10 cents from China. And I got along with them great until COVID, and then I said, that's a bridge too far. I will end the war in Ukraine, stop the chaos in the Middle East, and prevent World War III. I will crush violent crime and give our police the support, protection, resources, and respect that they so dearly deserve. That includes you guys, okay? That includes, does that include us? Yeah, you're top of the list. We will strengthen and modernize our military. You know, I rebuilt the entire U.S. military. Now we have to do it. I didn't know that they were going to give such a big chunk for no reason whatsoever to Afghanistan. Tanks, planes, even goggles, the best goggles. Now they became night fighters. Isn't that wonderful? But we gave them 777,000 guns and rifles. Think of that. First of all, how many did they need? 777,000 guns, 70,000 cars and vehicles. Many of them are armor plated, cost millions of dollars to build them. And they have them, and they just had a parade 3 weeks ago. Did you see going down their main thoroughfare? It wasn't particularly beautiful. And they were showing off all the equipment. Did you see that? It was disgusting to me. I look at that, I get disgusted and angry. Sometimes, you know, I make these speeches and we try and make the best out of a bad situation, but sometimes I get very angry by the end because I say, it's really crazy. You know, you go over the things they did, like the border, but you go over the things and you get damn angry because they're just grossly incompetent. They've actually destroyed. We're going to stop it. We're going to turn it around. But what they've done toward the destruction of our country is not even believable. It's not thinkable. We'll build a missile defense shield, all of it made in the USA. We're entitled to it, too. It was our technology. And we will rebuild our cities, including our once beautiful capital. Right now, it's got graffiti all over the beautiful marble. It's got the medians falling down on our roads. It's got potholes all over the place. We're going to take over our capital. We're going to make it so beautiful. We'll have a committee. We'll get rid of these people that are allowing crime to flourish. You can't go there. It's so dangerous. We're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to make our cities great again, too. Our cities are suffering tremendously. We will get critical race theory and transgender insanity out of our schools. And we will keep men out of women's sports, I guarantee you that. I will defend the Second Amendment, protect religious liberty, restore free speech, and we will secure our elections and they will be secure once and for all. Under the Trump administration, we will put American citizens first, American children first, American patients first, American taxpayers first, American workers first, and American communities first. We will put them first. We love those people. And we will put communists, Marxists, and fascists last. And we'll keep them there, too. We're going to put them last and keep them there. We will defend our territory. We will defend our families. We will defend our communities. We will defend our civilization. We will not be conquered. We will not be occupied. We will not be invaded. We will reclaim our sovereignty. We will reclaim our nation, and I will give you back your freedom and your life. We're going to give you back your freedom. Everyone will prosper. Every family will thrive, and every day will be filled with opportunity and hope. But for that to happen, we must defeat Kamala Harris and stop her radical left agenda once and for all. And we want a landslide election, and I believe something's brewing like that. That's too big to rig. Too big to rig. Early voting is underway. Get everyone you know and get out and vote. We cannot take a chance. After all we have been through together, we've been through so much. We stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years of the history of our country. We're going to make them the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. With your help, from now until Election Day, we will redeem America's promise, and we will take back the nation that we love. Nothing will sway us, nothing will slow us, and no one will stop us. We will press forward toward our magnificent American destiny, and together we will win, win, win. November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country, and together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. Wealthy, wealthy, wealthy. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Arizona. Thank you. God bless you all. God bless you.